Hello everyone, I am Bradley Sward, Associate Professor of Computer and Information Science at the College of DuPage in Glen Ellen, Illinois. And this video is going to take a look at a custom designed move slide solid function. And the reason for this is pretty obvious if you've been working with my other videos, or maybe it's become obvious to you if you are experienced using the move context solid function inside of GameMaker. So what are we trying to accomplish? What is the problem? The problem is that, and I'll show you in the video here in a second, is that if one move context solid function might get the player stuck to a wall, especially if the player is trying to move at an angle. Well, if I just say, okay, move 45 degrees, speed of 5, and use a move context solid function to do that, well, if the player moves half a pixel or something, or 1 pixel in one of the directions, well, it gets stuck, maybe gets stuck in a wall, and then you're stuck. You can't move. And if you hold down those keys and you want to continue to move 45-degree angle over and over and over again, there's no movement whatsoever. And you're essentially stuck to the wall unless you let go of the up arrow or whatever, and you try to press just right to go horizontal. So we're going to go ahead and create some math behind this. The math behind this is to break up the movement of one movement into 2 separate movements, one that is pure horizontal and one that is pure vertical. And so we'll figure out the math in this video, and then we'll show you what we have to do, especially with the move context solid function. We have to jump through a lot of hoops to get this thing to work properly. But what's nice about it is we're going to create a script and a function for this. We write it one time, and we never have to worry about it ever again. So here is what I'm talking about here. And in previous videos, the guy would get stuck when I'm walking around. He would get stuck, but now I can go in 2 directions, and he slides against the ground. I promise you I'm pressing down and arrow key as I'm doing this, and it works in all 4 directions. And obviously, you know, it only works up to a certain extent. You obviously can't do more than just walking along the wall on the left side, on the right side, on the top, and on the bottom. But it works, right? And maybe you don't agree with the sprites I chose for his movement, but that is neither here nor there for what we're going to accomplish in this video. So that's what we're trying to accomplish right here, right now. So coming back to my PowerPoint slide here, the math is trigonometry. So I say it's depending on, you know, the eyes roll back in the head, especially when we start talking arctangents and things like that in other videos and stuff like that. But the trig isn't really that difficult, all things considered, and it's really not that difficult if you consider that once it's put together and I'm giving you the answer here, that you don't have to worry about it ever again. So the givens for this, right, if I know my speed, I know how fast I want to move, and I know what direction I want to move it in, generally speaking, this is my starting point, and on the next frame I'd be over here where the arrow is. But now, again, what if there's a wall right here, something like this? Like, wouldn't it be nice to go up to it, hit it, and then slide across? And that's the whole idea here. If there's something in the way, you don't just go there and then stick, and then you're stuck there forever. You go, and then because now horizontally I can move, but vertically I get stuck, and so you can slide around the things. And so with these 2 givens, these are the 2 formulas to figure out the 2 components of the movement. dx, the movement in the horizontal direction, is equal to my speed times the cosine of this direction. And the dy value is equal to speed times the sine of the direction. And the reason for the negative sign is because the y-axis in true mathematics is reversed from the y-axis inside GameMaker, because the y-axis goes up in true mathematics, and in GameMaker the y-axis goes down. So to use the same math and get it to work properly, we just fudge factor the thing and just negate the speed, and it works, and I'll show you everything's going to work just fine. Okay, so things I've gone ahead, I'm creating a script called move slide solid function. Inside of here I have a function called move slide solid. I'm using the exact same function prototype as the move context solid, because move context solid, you can see it here. Move context solid, direction, max distance. Direction, max distance. So I'm just applying the same interface, the same API for this function call as I have done for other things. And I've gone ahead and fixed up our player. Where is my player object? So where is it? In the step event down here, I have made this so that I can go ahead and use my move slide solid function instead of the move contact solid function. I believe that's the only place where I use the move contact solid for the human player. And for my other thing I hear, my MPC, let me just try to remember what I did here. I changed this as well, where I said move slide solid and move instead of move contact solid. So every object that can move around and you care if they get stuck to a wall or not, now forevermore you'll be using this move slide solid instead of move contact solid. And I'm used to it. I've been using it for a few years now, especially. But if it's new to you, you probably will forget and put move contact solid in for a while. Or I might even do it because it's hard to talk and think and make videos at the same time and all that cool yada yada stuff. Okay, so coming back, here's my player. Here's my step event. This, that, whatever. But now here, the script is going to dictate what's going on. And so right now, if I just went ahead and just wrote out the code, all right, just like I was showing you inside of the PowerPoint presentation, it would be something like this. And the variable names will be slightly different. And again, you're fighting GameMaker because it's not true mathematics, and it's its own API and it's its own IDE and everything. So you have to do what you got to do here. So you would think that if I had this, the max distance is my speed, the direction is the direction, and I'm using dcos and dsine for GameMaker here because these are fancy GameMaker functions that actually do the math of turning the direction that is in degrees into radians for us automatically. If this is just sounding like the parents from the Peanuts cartoons, blah, 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 don't worry about it again. Just maybe fast forward a couple minutes if you don't necessarily care about how the math works. But you would think you could just go ahead and just, now that I have the dx and the dy, I could just go ahead and say move contact solid. And yes, even though I'm using my own function, I'm going to be using move contact solids to do the actual work. So you would think I could go, oh, I'll go in the 0 direction, right, whatever dx is. And I will go up. But in this case, well, I guess you'd think up 90, and I'll go dy. And again, we discussed, this is wrong, obviously, or maybe obviously, maybe not. But again, I'm just going to show you all the things that are going to go wrong and all the things that you can talk about here. So I press right. What in the world, right? I go left. What in the world is happening already, right? So again, this is the problem with GameMaker right off the bat, is the move contact solid function. Close up my political nonsense here. Alrighty. So then my move contact solid function says somewhere around here, you can use a -1 or a 0 for a max distance being applied, 1,000 pixels. So even like 0 is the dumbest thing I've ever thought about. If I want to move 0, like move, just stand still, GameMaker says, oh, you want to move 1,000 pixels? Like I could maybe understand a negative value. I still can't understand that because it should just go backwards. But anyway, but GameMaker says, okay, you don't want to go anywhere? Then bam, you're going 1,000 pixels. And so that's where this is going to come into. This is our first step here, is we have to make sure that GameMaker can handle negative values, because a positive dx means I want to go to the right. A negative dx means I want to go to the left. And the same thing applies here. A positive dy means I want to go down, because remember that. And a negative dy means I want to go up. So I actually have to write some code to handle this right now. If dx is greater than 0, I'm going to forego the all the curly braces here. Else if dx is greater than 0, oh my goodness, right? Like, okay, so move contact solid. If dx is positive, yeah, go to the right and go dx units. But if it's negative, go left and go negative dx, because if this is if this is negative of a negative turns it positive, and so I'll go to the left that number of units. And now the fun part is, well, what happens at 0? Well, nothing will happen, because if it's not greater than and it's not less than, then at 0, I don't have to worry about this. we'll show later on, maybe there are ways to worry, things to worry about. But at least now I should be able to press left and right. All the other guys are going crazy. But see, well, let's say, like, still not working because I got to deal with the Y unit here, right? So I just got to basically copy this and replace. And so now I have an X movement and a Y movement. So a positive Y is down and a negative Y is up. So this might fix a lot of this. And there we go. Okay, so far so good. Okay, oops. And that's the problem here is that, what did I do? I didn't make this a negative. That was the thing from earlier. I was saying, like, I was pressing, you could try it on your own if you're following along. Down goes up and up goes down. And you could see that in those characters, the NPCs immediately. They were moonwalking up and down and back and forth. But now, left, right, up, down. It should be good now. And now if you would think, oh, we're done. This would be great. This should be great, right? You're like, okay, Brad, why are you talking so much in this kind of video? That was really easy, like whatever, right? But now, but theoretically, yes, we are kind of done. But what happens if I try to change the speed of my character to a very small number, like 1 or something like that? So that is the next step here, is to see what's going on and to make this thing work for small speeds. Let me see if I can go ahead into the player, into the create event and say, okay, 1. What happens if I try to move left? I try to move right. What if I try to move diagonally? Oh, it actually, but it only works because I'm trying to go 0.7 in each direction. And so it's hard. I don't want to play around with too much stuff, but I can guarantee you that if I tried to move, well, I guess I could go ahead in this move contact solid here, or this move slide solid function, and let me just comment this out for a second. Let me just show you what will happen. What if I try to say move contact solid? Don't do this. This is just to show you what I'm trying to accomplish here. If I want to move right 0.4 pixels in one frame, and I want to move up or down, I'll move down 270. The same thing. What will happen? No matter what. And you can see that my input means nothing right now, but you can see that I'm trying to tell GameMaker to move 0.4 pixels per frame. And I'm doing it every single game frame, right? Every time I'm trying to use my move contact solid function. But you can see the characters are going absolutely nowhere. And that's because GameMaker only does move contact solids on whole numbers. So the final step is to come up with a solution that allows me to do fractional movement. Because if I do 0.5, it's not going to jump 0.5 units, it's going to jump 1 unit. So if I run this again, I believe it'll work. It's only when I move and I press a button and they're up. See, well, even that, it's not moving, right? I would say that's the fun of this. It only moves in whole number units, and I've actually supplied a bug, like a bug report to Yo-Yo Games, and I have been shot back saying that this is expected behavior. And for them, maybe it is, but I do not believe so. Do not believe that this should be expected behavior, because if I want to move 0.4 pixels using a move contact solid, well, over 3 frames later, I should be able to move a pixel, but I don't. Okay, so my solution to this, there are ways to do this, but I don't want to complicate matters too much. This isn't meant to be a humongously complicated thing, is just to try to figure out, basically find the fractional component, find the whole number component, and just work from there. And so let me just show you how to do that, and let me do it right now. Okay, so I went ahead and added the code already. And you can see, and it looks complicated. But for each of the 4 cases, we need to do a little bit of work here. But it's the same basic concept for each of the cases. So let me just describe and show you what's happening. So if I wanted to move 2.5 pixels in this game frame just to the right, let's just say to the right. And again, GameMaker can only handle moving in whole number increments. And so it's not right that you can move ahead, like it'll always move 2. either it rounds or it doesn't. I can't remember. Sometimes it rounds. I don't know if it uses banker's rounding or who knows what. But the whole point of this is to break this number down into two components, the whole number component, and say, okay, I know I can move 2 units over for sure every time. And then I need to find a way to basically figure out from the decimal portion, like how much should I move over? And since I can only move 0 or 1, it comes down to a probability. And so this basically you just take whatever, like you pick a random number, and I want to say in this case I want 50% of the time to move and 50% of the time I don't. And over time, on average, the character will move 0.5 units per frame. And so that's what I'm doing here. The move context solid says, okay, in the right direction, move floor. So basically just give me the integer value of whatever the dx value is. And so it moves that integer value for sure. And then it does a random number. And it basically gives me a number between 0 and 1. And then it checks it against whatever the current dx value is. And if my dx value is 0.5, that's the fractional component, frac, floor and frac, get me the two components. And then because this is right in the middle, 50% of the time this generation here will give me something less than 0.5, and half the time it won't. So half the time I'll move 1 more unit over, and half the time I won't. Or if it's 30.3, 30% of the time I'll move 1 more, whoops, and 70% of the time I won't. So that's just how things work out here. And so, and it's exactly the same for all 4 cases. It's just moving in different directions and making sure, you know, I negated the dx here and I negated the dy, and just, you know, these are the 0 directions. This is 180, this is 270, this is 90. This is exactly the same stuff. And now, after all this, you're like, oh my God, okay, thank goodness, Brad, you're done now, right? You're like, you wish, right? There's just a tiny little thing more. If I go up, down, left, right, oh my goodness, what in the world is happening? I am Superman, and the reason is because of the way things work out, this move contact and all that. What if my player wanted to, like I have my player's walking speed is 1, so everything is 0 point, 0 point, 0 point. So what happens is the floor of dx, 0 point something, is 0. And we discussed in GameMaker, if I say, hey GameMaker, move me 0 pixels, it goes, hey, you want to move 1,000 pixels? And that's what's happening. So basically in 1 or 2 game frames, I am flying across the screen. And so the final hack, I put 5 zeros to use this as a floating point value. I just add, no matter what I get out of this, I add a really, really tiny number. So it's a non-zero quantity. And you could sit here for how many game frames? Like minutes, maybe an hour before this thing might ever even think about giving you an extra pixel. Because just think about, you know, this is, you know, 0.00001 per frame. And it will take a lot of time, maybe a day. I don't know. Anybody knows the real answer? How long will it take to accidentally move 1 pixel? You know, you're gonna have to let this thing sit for a year if you want to cheat or move 1 pixel. Okay, so after all of this, now I have my up, I have my down, and you notice if it's slow, you might notice it's a little janky, but that's because of the randomness again. It's not always going to be 50, you know, it's 50% of the time on average. But like everything else, you flip a coin, is it heads, is it tails? You could have 10 heads in a row. That doesn't mean the coin is faulty. That just means that's just what happened. And the same thing goes here. You could have 10 that you move 1 unit, and then you have 10 you move 0, and it just kind of looks a little like you're a little janky. But you can see everybody's moving around, everybody's happy. I still have my move slide solid. I can still move along. I can still slide against the top, slide against the bottom, slide against the left side, both ways. And now, a lot of code, but now you never have to write it again. And you never have to think about it again. Because now you use your move slide solid function for any direction and any value for its speed, and it will handle things appropriately. Your character will never get stuck in a wall, and everybody's going to be very, well, again, as long as your sprites are set up correctly, you'll never get stuck in a wall. Okay, so that is this video. I'm ready to move on to bigger and better things here when it comes to platform games and all sorts of other stuff. So if you have any questions, as always, send a comment here at YouTube or swardb@cod.edu. That's a great way to get a hold of me. And looking good over here. Thanks everybody for sticking through it as always, and we'll see you next time.